I'm here with Dr. Scott Stinson. Thank you for being here with me. Kaleidoscope on February 16th is going to premiere one of his piano etudes called Pandorum, and we are so fortunate to have Professor Stinson with us to talk about his etude and his music in general, and so we can get to know him a bit. So, Professor Stinson, thank you for being here.
Okay, well,
And Pandorum, what is this title? Why?
yes. Well, you have to keep in mind, in terms of titles, I always think of having a title that evokes something similar to the emotion which I was actually experiencing. Many composers, they'll write a piece and then select a title later. I always need a title that corresponds to what I'm really feeling in terms of the work. It isn't just something superfluous that gets tacked on later. In terms of Pandorum, I wanted to capture a title that also captured the feeling that I had of the work when I wrote it, because I was in a very strange place when I was thinking about this piece. I had actually just finished watching a very unusual Finnish film by the name of Sauna, and it was unbelievable. I mean, I love foreign films, but this movie in particular was about the unbelievable power that the sauna has in Finnish society. The movie took place during the Middle Ages, yet the sauna has a power that is almost a force between life and death in that society. When a newborn is born in Finland, they bathe it in the sauna. When someone dies, they bathe it in the sauna to prepare it for death. The whole movie was about Russian explorers going to this village in Finland where something really maybe horrifying, strange had happened. They encounter a sauna first, this brick building that's in this bit of a lake that seems to have a strange power to it. When they go into the village, they realize that a number of strange things have happened inside the village which end up affecting them as well, and it all is in some way related to the power of the sauna. It affects their brains, their emotions. Some of them start dying, some of them start behaving very strangely. The movie itself, even when it ended, I wasn't sure what I had watched, if I understood. I just knew that I was transformed. I was put in a very special place emotionally, and I wanted to capture that emotion in terms of this piano etude.
So do you feel that movies in general, these type of movies, affect most of your compositions?
Well, you have to acknowledge that film cinema was indeed the great art form invented during the 20th century, and that there are many significant artists, very significant artists, people like a Stanley Kubrick, who operated in this language that anyone who is a thinking person, in my view, you cannot be truly sophisticated if you are not aware of what the great thinkers in film have achieved. And the great thing about film is that it allows you to experience all cultures in a way that's universal and profound and deep, in the same way that music can from those cultures. I don't know if literature, even when I try to read literature, if it pulls me in with the same depth that these films, when it's done in an artistic way, can. There's something about the manipulation of film that I relate to as a composer, because I also had training in electronic music and musique concrète. Many of the techniques of splicing together those elements of music are very much the same as what can be done in film to create emotion. So I find all those things very similar. Anyone who has worked in musique concrète or electronic music in the electronic music studio in composition, that is bound to have lasting effects on your compositional process, even if you're writing work for piano.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Going back to your etudes now, I have looked at them a bit, practiced them myself, and Pandorum will be the one that I'm going to perform. But I am very interested about the influences of each etude, like the Italian concerto.
Yes.
Just let me know about that.
Well, the Italian concerto was a special case, because you have to realize that I certainly was trained as a pianist.
Mm-hmm.
I have a real issue with composers writing for an instrument that they don't play well. It was very important in terms of my schooling. When I went to school at Indiana University, I had to take lessons in every instrument or family of instrument that I didn't have any experience with. So therefore I had to take 2 years of violin. I had to take woodwinds, because my experience growing up was I started piano when I was 7 years old and had piano lessons all through high school and then even in college. What happened in terms of the Italian concerto was very significant, because I remember very well it was my high school year, my senior year of high school. I was very, very much thinking, training, hoping to be a concert pianist, in addition to a possible career as a composer. I hadn't really fully made my mind which one of those I was going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I practiced many, many hours a day, as much as I could. But what happened when I was a senior in high school is the band director, one day he takes me over to the choral rehearsal room where a pianist, a young girl, was practicing. She was practicing and playing through the Bach Italian Concerto. Such dedicated practicing
Mm-hmm.
and work,
Mm-hmm.
laborious, so dedicated. My high school band director turns to me and says, I want you to listen to this girl, because she can show you why you will never have a career as a concert pianist. She has a way of applying herself, dedicating herself to this instrument. She is not going to be distracted by anything else. When you play, no matter how hard you try, you still think and play as a composer. And that affects your playing, your technique. You will never have what she has. So, once again, I suggest that you concentrate on composition, because that's where your skills lie. You will never have the skill set and skill level that she has.
Oh, that's pretty strong.
So, what happened was, of course, I went to a great university, became a composition major, and did not write a work for solo piano for almost 25 years because of that. For me, a work of art should be something that you must hear more than once, because you have that need. The work itself presents the challenge. So for me, the works, they have to present a certain difficulty in terms of the performer, but also in terms of the listener,
Yeah.
but something that is not surmountable, but yet they reward a challenge in many ways. Chile was one of the big scents that came over to this country with like the hippies in the 60s. Back in those days, you know, there weren't a whole lot of scents and fragrances, but patchouli was like the main one. Like you had an incense. Patchouli was the main incense. And so all of the hippies, people that were interested in yoga and East Asian philosophy, all of that, patchouli was their big scent. So I always tell my students, if you want to know what the 60s smelled like, the 60s smelled like patchouli.